All right. Hello, everyone. It is Friday, December 5th, 2025. As my computer loves to just randomly mess around with the USB ports, we're going to get into the radio ratings that just recently came out. These are going to be the books that were from October 16th through November 12th. So before we get into that, I want to get into a headline from last week that I missed out on, and I'm first catching up on, which is very important to get into. And that is iHeartMedia launching a anti-AI guaranteed human campaign as of last week. All right, so this was I'll put the date up on my phone right here. It was Monday, November 24th. Added a new tagline to the top of the hour on all of its stations, proclaiming their stations to be guaranteed humans. So I think we have a soundbite.
WKTU, Lake Success, New York.
103.5 KTU, an iHeartRadio station. Guaranteed human.
All right. So, WKTU in New York here played that. That's very interesting. Let me read the rest of this article here. And we'll move this a little bit to the right so you can get a better view of it. Like, let's center it. Right? A little bit better. There we go. Sources indicate that this is a promise from iHeart that all of its radio stations will not feature any AI-generated content, including music. It's dated from a study released by iHeartMedia itself in November that indicated that 82% of consumers worry about AI societal impact. And 9 in 10 believe that it's important to know that the media that they consume was created by an actual human being. The chairman and CEO of iHeartRadio, Bob Pittman, said in the study report, in a world of digital saturation and AI acceleration, this study reveals that consumers are not just looking for convenience, they're searching for meaning. Sports radio, live media, and human-led storytelling offer a rare sanctuary of trust, empathy, and shared experience. Above all, we must continue to listen to Americans more closely than ever before and focus on ways to foster real connection and amplify our collective humanity. In a related MSNBC interview, well, now it's called MS Now. Yes, not MSNBC anymore. Pittman first utilized the term, claiming the majority of people saying that they get their news from social, and the majority of people say they don't trust it. When you look at radio versus social, it's about 3 times the amount of trust with radio, right? Because radio is real humans. There's no internet. You can't hack it. And by the way, I'm pretty sophisticated. I don't believe anything. Now when something pops up on social media, I have no idea if it's real or created by AI. The good news about radio is that it will be guaranteed human. So, yes. This is very important that iHeart is doing this. I mean, I don't want to get into the specifics, but yes. Thank you, Tom Pittman. My bad, Bob Pittman. I said Tom Pittman. I didn't say Bob. Thank you, Bob Pittman, for doing this, because we're entering a very dangerous age of AI technology. You know, half the workforce could be AI by 2030, they're claiming, but let's hope that's wrong. Because, again, I'm an actual human being recording this video in my part of New York City right now, talking about the normal radio ratings. I should not be talking about this, but that's the reality we live in. Okay. So let's make sure radio stays actual humans. All right. I'm going to put the books on the separate tab here because I'm trying to clear up tabs as we go along here. So anyhow, we got the ratings back on Tuesday. Now, I was supposed to record this video yesterday, but I was in Long Island and I was just, too tired to record this video. And plus, I was also working on my other Windows machine, and I'm, I'm working on updating it, and I have to have another Windows computer just in case. But anyhow, let's get into the ratings that were from October 16th through November 12th. Nielsen. Now, we're going to get into a big headline from Philadelphia later on regarding WMMR radio. So first things first, which is no surprise here in the 5 boroughs, 106.7 Light FM, iHeartMedia's AC, WLTW holds a 7.4 share. Ratings expert Chris Huff predicts that because of WLTW's holiday format, and yes, I'm actually quoting him because I know somebody that knows him close in the industry. Huff says because of WLTW's flip to Christmas music back on November 21st, the number should dramatically spike up when we will receive the ratings books in January. So he should be right about this. Let's hope Chris is right. Odyssey's News, 1010 wins in 92.3 FM, owned by Odyssey, will climb up to a 6.8 after the mayoral election for New York City. This marks the highest share for 1010 wins since 1969 when man landed on the moon, per Chris Huff. iHeart's contemporary hit radio, C100, WHTC, is off 5.9 to a 5.8. However, Chris Huff also notes that as we get closer to Jingle Ball and as people will get desperate for tickets for next week's iHeartRadio Jingle Ball taking place at Madison Square Garden a week from today, December 12th, the ratings should climb to at least a 7.0. So let's hope that he's right about that. Odyssey's Classic Hits 101.1 WCBS FM will rise up from a 5.0 to a 5.6. SBS Spanish Tropical La Mega 97.9 WSKQ will dip down to a 5.0. Red Apple Media Group's 77 WABC 4.2 to a 5.0. NPR 93.9 WNYC FM will go up from a 4.2 to a 4.5. Odyssey's Sports Talk Station 660 AM and WFAN FM will dip down to a 3.5 to a 3.0. And by the way, I'm going to tease it. We're going to do one every Saturday tomorrow, and we will talk about the changes at WFAN because there's a lot of things sports-wise we got to get into, and I'll also get into the Warner Brothers Netflix merger tomorrow. So we'll get into that when you'll see my wonderful face tomorrow. Okay, let's get into WQHT. Hot 97, Mediacos. 97.1 FM, 3.9 to a 4.3. Chris Huff notes that it's the best share since fall of 2005. Sister station, Adult R&B, 107.5 WBLS, down 4.7 to a 4.1. Power 105.1 WWPR FM dips down 3.3 to a 3.1. Odyssey's Rhythmatic Throwbacks 94.7 The Block WXPK will go down from a 1.7 to a 1.2. Jazz 88.3 WBGO. Yeah, the stream does a little bit better. I don't know why. So anyhow, notable station that is missing here, well, two of them. Where's La Exitosa and where's Q1043 and where is the Battle of the ACs? All right, let's get into the Battle of the ACs. All right. WKTU FM 103.5, owned by iHeartMedia. The rating actually ticked up. So this should have been noted in the article. I don't know why it wasn't. It'll go up from a 3.2 to a 3.8. Also, in terms of AC, the Odyssey station, new 102.7 WNEW FM, will climb up from a 3.4 to a 3.6. Okay, so there's WKTU. And then there's WNEW in case you're having trouble seeing it on your screen. One more important note here. Classic Rock Q104.3 WAXQ will remain at a 4.3. However, Chris Huff notes that Thanksgiving weekend might have seen a little bit of an uptick in the ratings. That is because on Thanksgiving weekend, Q1043 was supposed to do a countdown of the top songs of all time like they normally do. But we'll see when those numbers do come out in January. All right. One important note from Los Angeles. I want to mention that Odyssey's classic hits K-Earth 101.1 FM, KRTH, after its record high in the previous rating book, the rating will drop down from an 8.3 to a 7.0. However, as a result of Delilah now being heard in Los Angeles, by the way, big congratulations to Delilah Renee for getting a spot in the second largest radio market in the country. Because of Delilah's addition to KOST FM, 5.7 to a 6.5. So the folks at iHeart Los Angeles should really be giving themselves a pat on the back for making sure that Delilah would be heard in the second largest radio market in the United States. Given that Delilah still gets the highest amount of listeners technically in the New York market. I want to look at Chicago for a second. Okay. So WLIT FM, as a result of their Christmas music flip on November 1st, the ratings went up from a 4.9 to a 6.0, so congratulations to iHeart Chicago. Okay, I want to go down to Long Island. So no surprise, in Long Island, WABC, 6.2 to an 8.2. It's the highest number since they were a music radio station, per Chris Huff. Okay, in terms of the overall Long Island market, I want to look at those numbers. So let me see if I can find it. There we go. Pull up Long Island. Okay. So in terms of the overall number one station in the Long Island market, in terms of Nassau Suffolk based, it seems WBLI, owned by Cox Media Group, had the highest share for this month's book. It will jump up on 106.1 FM, 4.1 to a 4.2. Now, WALK, according to Chris Huff, will see a big ratings boost as a result of their holiday music format flip that occurred on November 21st. WALK currently up 3.4 to a 4.0 on 97.5 FM. Classic Rock, 102.3 WBAB, and WHFS FM 95.3 out in the East End, 4.1 to a 4.0. So, yes, okay, so that's just an important note. WKJY's numbers will go down from a 3.9 to a 3.0 on 98.3 FM. The Soft AC station, locally owned by Connoisseur Media Group. WHLI and 103.1 The Wolves, respectively, WHLI 104.7 Oldies, 103.1 Country Music, The Wolf, will be at a 2.0. And then I want to see if I can find the Shark. I don't see the Shark anywhere. Oh, you know why WHUD got added to this book? It makes sense. WHUD comes out pretty well on the North Shore of Nassau. Because remember, you're dealing with 50,000 watts. There we go. Okay. Rock Station, 94.3 The Shark, WWSK, will remain at a 1.1 rating. Okay. Now, let's get into the news from Philadelphia, and this is very important. We need to note a passing at WMMR Radio. It is sad to announce that former midday host, yes, we could say former, Pierre Robert, has sadly passed away back in October. Robert was a staple at 93.3 FM since 1981. He had had a long career in the music industry, particularly radio. He hosted overnights, mornings, and middays. He worked at 94.9 KSAN during its final years of freeform rock and briefly after its 1980 flip to country music. Oh boy, I know people in San Francisco probably got upset at the time about that. So, I'm trying to get the statement from Beasley Media Group. So, it was like a long statement, and according to Beasley Media Group, he joined WMMR back in 1981. And Pierre had such a huge impact that even John Bon Jovi even posted about him on his Instagram page back in October. So, this is the picture of John Bon Jovi. I would think this was at the old Spectrum Center in Philadelphia. Yeah, for you folks in Philadelphia, you know what I'm talking about. So, obviously, when this broke in October, I got such big coverage in Philadelphia, and I get it, you know. The group Living Color even posted about him, so yes. So what does this have to do with the ratings in Philadelphia? Well, I'll gladly get into it. So after Pierre's passing, the ratings went up huge on 93.3 FM. WMMR saw its ratings boost up from a 6.1 to a 7.7. Now, Beasley's sister station, 102.9 WMGK, their classic rock on 102.9 FM went down from a 7.0 to a 6.7. Now, this is a big shocker here. 94.1 Sports Talk, owned by Odyssey, WIP, falls down from a 9.2 to a 6.6 after the Phillies' playoff run ended. iHeartMedia's Adult R&B 105.3 WDAS 5.4. Odyssey's AC B101 WBEB down 5.6 to a 5.0. However, Chris Huff notes that as a result of their holiday flip, the ratings should tick up. Odyssey's new station, AM 1060 KYW AM and 103.9 WPHI FM, up 4.4 to a 4.9. Christian K-Love, 106.9 FM, 3.6 to a 4.4 for its best ratings since February of 2023. AAA 88.5 WXPN, 3.8 to a 3.3. iHeartMedia's contemporary hit radio, Q102, WIOQ FM, 2.8 to a 3.2. Interesting, okay. So let me look at Philadelphia very quickly here. Yes, okay. Yes, country music, XTU, 4.3 to a 4.4. Ben FM, 3.4, 3.6. Big 98.1, 2.6 to a 3.0. I just want to look for WRFF. Yeah, not so good for alt rock. 2.1 to a 2.3. Uh-oh. And I want to briefly shout out Taco Elevators. Yes, his favorite radio station in Philadelphia. 96.5 FM WTDY, the hot AC owned by Odyssey, 1.6. So the ratings still stay flat, which is no surprise there. I also want to mention regarding Pierre Roberts' passing. Delaware Governor Matt Meyer also posted a statement on that. I'm not going to look for it at the moment, but I did want to acknowledge that when this did break, he did acknowledge it. All right, y'all. So that's going to wrap it up here. Thank you all very much for watching. We will do whenever Saturday tomorrow. We will have Andy Plays up on Sunday, so a lot to look forward to this weekend here on Andy's Randomness. So until the next one, please take care.